Aside from marrying Kurt and having 4 children, what do you believe has been your great accomplishment in life? What is your biggest disappointment and your biggest regret? It's like a big question. My great accomplishment, I mean, to date, I would say just so far, is doing emotional work in myself. So just taking a hard look at myself and trying to be objective and saying, here's where I need to do better. And here's where I have mishandled things. And this is how I react, like just basically learning myself, studying my personality type and saying, yeah, there's great things about these personality traits, but there's also difficult things that can probably annoy the crap out of people, and trying to be better, just trying to view myself through an objective lens. I think that's an accomplishment when you can look at yourself through an objective lens, and I'm not perfect at it at all. Like, I really struggle with when I feel like I'm being criticized, or even constructive criticism. I do not handle that well because I'm a pleaser. I want to please people and I want to be understood, and all these different things that I've really kind of like nailed down about myself, and I'm constantly learning and trying to improve. And so I think that's something that I'm proud of. As far as a disappointment, this is trivial, but I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to do the Disney college program. I really wanted to, but I ended up doing it between transferring schools and all that. It just didn't work out, and I ended up doing London semester, which was life-changing and amazing. So it's not truly like I'm beside myself with disappointment, but I wish I could have done that. As far as a regret, I think we all have just situations where, like, I wish I had handled something differently. Like, I wish that I hadn't, confronted something this way, or I wish that I had an in-person conversation instead of trying to talk about something through writing or through whatever, you know what I mean? Like, just saying, like, in retrospect, I would just change how I responded, or I wouldn't have said that. But ultimately, like, you can't live in regret. You can only become better, which, back to point number 1, like, that's what I'm trying to do, is learn from things and be better. And everyone's a work in progress. And I think recognizing that about others is a great thing too. Reminding myself they're working on stuff too. Everyone has stuff. And so, yeah, that's how I'd answer that. What do you do to keep your marriage strong with 4 small children? Do you and your husband ever fight? What are some things that you've learned over the years that have helped you overcome marital woes? That's a big one. Kurt and I just celebrated our 11-year anniversary, and it's been a wonderful 11 years. And I need to honestly say that I married such a selfless person, and he's constantly trying to better himself, and I think that we're a really good team. I think that we for sure have our moments where it's rough, and everybody does. But at our core, I think, something that Kurt has said, when two givers are married to each other, when both people are aiming to give to the other, it's smooth sailing. It's a lot more smooth sailing. But when one person is a taker, or if both people are takers, that's where you have major challenges. And so we both try to be givers as best we can, but ultimately we're both you're everything, everyone is a self-absorbed person to some degree, everyone's selfish. And so I think it's a constant battle of the flesh, you know what I mean, to like battle against selfishness. And so that's what we try to do. But when we talk, I think something that I've learned is like really trying to hear the other person. What are they really saying, and really therapy talk. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in therapy, but a big thing is, realizing that we are all operating based on our past experiences, what's happened to us, our insecurities, the lens of how we've, viewed the world for however many years. There's deeper reasons why people do things. And so instead of just taking something at face value all the time and immediately getting offended, I think that it's important to sit back and say, okay, why is this person saying this? And really just taking a hard look at it. Apologizing early and often, that's something that is really important to me. I try to own my crap. Like, when I've done something and I know it, I try to apologize quickly for it. And it's humbling to apologize, but I think that apologies should be like, you should mean them and you should be specific with them. Like, I'm sorry for, you know? And sometimes for me, it's just like, I'm sorry that I'm being a jerk right now. Like, I'm sorry I'm so irritable. And then I try to explain to her why. Because I think if you can explain to someone, you know, here's why I'm acting this way, it softens them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just less of a, usually it's just less of a, that they view it as less of a personal attack and like, oh, okay, like, I get that. You know, there's something that's been triggered. You know, I'm sure like Kurt will think like, okay, there's something that's been triggered here in Ashley. And so, you know, just trying to communicate and explain yourself to someone. I think that you just explaining makes a huge difference. Giving and not taking. I'm looking at my notes I made. Neither of us yell. We do not ever yell at each other or raise our voices. And that's a big one, you know, just don't yell. Just keep your voice down and stay calm. Whenever you feel distant, schedule time together. That's when you need it the most. And pray for the other person. Just pray for them. And it's hard to be mad at someone you're praying for. Do you like your Lily Jade diaper bag? Can you do a video about it? Yes, I do. I like my Lily Jade diaper bag. The one thing that I don't like, I wish it had an elasticized like pocket on the outside that I could just put like a cup in, or a, you know, a sippy cup down the road. But I really like it. It's been great. I like it. Since motherhood seems to be your greatest joy in life, as it is mine, how do you keep from getting so sad about how fast the years fly by? How do you deal with that? I think every mom deals with this. I think that you look back wistfully when they were babies and you're just like, oh, you know, and it's sad. It's hard to see them get older and to, you know, not need you as much maybe. But I think something that's helped me is dwelling on what was good about each season, but also remembering what was hard about each season. You know, like right now I'm in the newborn stage with Luke and it's hard. Like, it's been, granted, my hardest one I've ever had for lots of reasons, but like this reminds me, like it is easier as they get a little bit older and as they're becoming more self-sufficient. You know, you have different things to enjoy. You know, like right now you enjoy cuddling and rocking and, you know, having that little tiny, you know, bundle to cuddle. But then I also wouldn't trade at all, you know, Evie being 9 years old and hearing her thoughts on things and seeing her grow into who God, you know, has her to be. And so it's like, this is a lot of lip service because it's hard for me too, but I think remembering what was hard, you know, is also a good way to be like, you know what, it's good to move forward. And I wouldn't want to be stuck. I mean, would you really want to be like in one stage of parenting forever? No. You know, where it's a natural progression that God has ordained for us to, you know, grow and for our kids to grow. You know, the older they get, the more they can know Jesus. And like that kind of struck me as I was reading this question. I tried to make some notes and I was like, it was kind of a light bulb for me. You know, like the older they get, the more they can mature spiritually, which is ultimately what we want. You know, we want kids that love Jesus and that want to serve him and find their calling, his calling on their life. And so that can't happen unless they get older, you know, and it's just a constant process of being joyful and being sad and living in that tension, you know. The other thing that I would say about this is like, this is why I am militant about family time and I want to live with no regrets. You know, I do stay home with my kids and that's a huge factor in why I stay home with my kids, is the fact that I want all the time that I can with them. That's why I love homeschooling so much. I love being with my kids. I love their company and I love being around them. And so that's why, you know, I'm so dedicated to making sure that we don't overschedule and that we keep a calendar that is very livable, you know, for us, because the memories are what you hold on to. And when you're running ragged, you know, from activity to activity, you can't enjoy that. And so I think that contributes to feeling like you've blinked and it's gone. So I try to just have a lot of white space in our calendar, and that honestly helps. You seem incredibly close to your siblings, and that's so rare. What do you think your parents did with raising y'all that has made y'all so close? We actually talked about this, me and my siblings did. We made a sibling Q&A video several years ago, and I'll try to remember to link that, but it's here on my channel. But, you know, I think my parents just, we had a lot of family time together. You know, we were each other's playmates and praying together, having that Bible time. My parents just really encouraged us to spend time together. And I don't know that there's a magic formula, you know. I think that that's actually something I should probably ask my parents. It'd be neat to have them on video talking about that. But they encouraged us to spend time together. And we took, you know, we had family trips that we, you know, to go see family, and like we had hours upon hours in the car, you know what I mean? And so looking back on memories like that, we laugh, you know. But in that video, I'll link to that because we talked more extensively about that. But I am so thankful for my siblings, and I do think it's a rare relationship that we have, that all four of us are so close, and we truly would just give our lives for each other. And they're my dearest friends, I can honestly say that. And so yeah, I'll link that, and hopefully you can watch more, but I'll get my parents on video one of these days talking about that. You should do a vlog with your mom. She's absolutely adorable. Yes, she is. And I need to get her on camera. And she's like she's just such a personality, and I love my mom so much. And I'll say this, at church or wherever she goes, like people have that same reaction to her. She is magnetic, and people love my mom. Like kids especially just adore my mom, and she makes people feel so special, and she's so sweet. She's just a sweet, sweet person, and I'm so thankful she's my mom. How did your parents discipline you when you were growing up, and how do you discipline your kids? What do you do when your kids fight with each other? Well, expectations were set in our house, and my parents stuck with it. I mean, they were consistent, and we knew what was expected of us. And it wasn't anything outrageous. It was just like, you're not going to be defiant. You're not going to be disrespectful. That's basically it. Like, that covers so many bases, you know. And we knew that we couldn't play our parents. Like, when they meant business, they meant business. And both my parents were on the same team. Like, we couldn't go to one parent for one thing and then another parent for another. I mean, we laugh about it. There were certain things that you knew, like dad was going to be more chill about, or mom was going to be more chill about. But generally speaking, like, they were on the same team, and you just didn't cross them. Like, you just knew, like, they mean business and they're going to follow through. You know what I mean? And discipline varied by age and by personality. And I think that was very wise of my parents. They didn't make a blanket policy for all of us. I mean, they didn't allow any of us to be defiant or disrespectful. But how they managed each of us was different. And I think that was very wise. I think that they paid attention to our personality types and parented accordingly. And we're the same way. I mean, it just, a lot of it also had to do with the context of what went on, you know. What was the offense? What was the context, you know? And not that you're fluid on, you know, I don't know. Like, you were punished if you did something wrong. Like, if you broke one of those rules, like, there was punishment, but there was context. You know what I mean? Like, context was taken into consideration. My parents were this way, and we are too. We try to give the minimum punishment that has the maximum results. So for some of my kids, it may just be like, you look at them, you know what I mean? Like, you give a look and like, they're done. Other kids, like, it may be a real long time out, you know, taking away privileges. You know, you find your kid's currency and you use it. Whatever means a lot to them, sometimes that's the only thing that makes a difference, is saying, okay, that's gone. You know, like something they hold dear, taking it away. I do believe that it's our role to discipline and to punish when necessary, because that's, you know, that's our job. I mean, it would be anarchy, you know, if you didn't have boundaries in place. And I think a good like analogy with the way Kurt and I do it, like, we have very firm boundaries that our kids know are boundaries, but within that, I view it as like a fence. Within that fence, they have a lot of freedom. But when they reach that boundary, you know, or they cross that boundary, then I have to rein you back in, you know, I have to, it's for your safety. The reason that we're so serious about this, among other things, is that, you know, it's for their safety. Like I said, you know, if they learn they cannot obey my voice, what if they walk out in front of a car and they do not obey my voice instantly? You know, it's training them for their safety, which is so much of what God does with us. You know, we must obey God because He knows best. And so that's the analogy we give our kids. You know, we're your parents. You know, my kids would eat candy every single day for every meal if they could. I can't let them do that. That's not what's best for them. So because, you know, we say your job is to obey us, but our job is to obey God. And so it's that line of natural order and authority. And so yeah, it's a challenge every day, not easy. I do not have the answers, but hopefully it's a little bit of perspective of how we do things. Will your children do musical theater? Hopefully. I would love for them to. I love musical theater and I think it'd be great. Evie's in a Showstoppers group and they work on little musical theater stuff, so she already loves that, and I'd love for my others to do that too if they want to. How can I teach my little ones to memorize scripture? The biggest resource that I can tell you is Steve Green's Hide 'Em in Your Heart. There's DVDs, but there's also CDs and music, and that's how me and my siblings absorb scripture, was Steve Green, and that's how your kids can too. Really, music and hand motions are the two things that I think work for little minds the best. And with scripture, you know, one of the things that we did when they were little, and it's still, I need to get back in the habit of doing this, but teaching them scripture through hand motions. You know, like one of them will be like, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, Romans 3:23. So simple motions, but they remember them. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, Genesis 1:1. So those are some examples of what we do, but it just gets in their little mind. Like if they can memorize like a Kid's Bop or whatever, like Kid Bop, you know, music, they can memorize scripture, you know? I mean, it's just, that's how it is. So music and hand motions are what I would say. If you were made a member of the royal family, what would you want your title to be? Whatever the queen would give me, I would happily take. What are your pet peeves? I would say tardiness. I'm huge on being on time. It's just a huge thing with me. Huge. I think that being on time is very, very important. And also just people that talk and don't listen. And I know that, I mean, I'm guilty of that too. You know, sometimes you just kind of get in the zone and you start talking, but I just think that like, it's just being a good conversationalist, I think, is a huge life skill, and I want to teach my kids how to be good conversationalists and ask questions about others and not just talk. Like ask and receive information. Receiving information, like be interested. Those are probably my two top pet peeves. Just be on time and listen to people. What are your family's summer plans? Not much this summer actually, because we kind of left it open, not knowing how Luke would do. But in September, Kurt and I have a couple of little performances we're gonna go to in St. Louis. That'll be like our first big things, like away from the baby, late summer. In September, we're gonna go to Branson. We love going to Branson, and so we're gonna do that in September. In October, Kurt got us tickets for my birthday to go see Elton John, and I'm like so excited. That's his farewell tour, and it's my dream to see Elton John, so we're gonna do that. November, we're going to Disney World, so it's more like gearing up for things that are coming in like late summer and fall, but our summer has been pretty open, and I love that. I'm thankful that we have a free summer and can enjoy being with family. So that completes all my questions. I hope that you guys enjoyed this and that you maybe learned some things about me. I appreciate all the questions. It meant a lot to me that you guys would ask and be interested, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. But I think it's just neat to hear from others and how people do things and how they live their life, and hopefully you learned a little about me. So I hope you guys subscribe to my channel and look for other videos that are coming. And I just appreciate you guys being so kind and sweet, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.